The boy awoke in the dark place a few minutes ago, opening his eyes to total blackness before sitting up to see a dull, unending expanse. He had stayed, catatonic, in this position for about a minute, inspecting the single frame of view his eyes lent to him. In front of him had been an unending void, with a matte gray floor that felt of hard rock. Most peculiar, however, were the doors. The place was just full of them, large and small, door frames with no doors stretching as far as the eye could see in any direction. The boy blinked a few times, stood up, and started spinning around slowly for a minute until the startling realization came to him. He needed to find her. The notion held no panic, and it wasn't sad or really held any emotion at all. All he knew was she was missing, and he needed to find her. And so, he walked. After a bit of walking, he learned a little more about the place he found himself in. There really seemed to be no end to the expanse, and the doors as well. All the frames looked the same, and had roughly the same relative dimensions. They were made of long rectangular bars that the boy had wanted to touch to see what they felt like, but couldn't bring himself to, for some reason. He assumed they were door frames, because their most common size would allow you to easily walk through them, and they were all oriented on the ground as such, though he couldn't technically rule out the possibility that they were all just large empty picture frames. The boy then turned his thoughts introspectively and quickly realized he hadn't the slightest idea of how he got here, or, in fact, where he was before here. With further thought, he then realized he had no idea who he was, and set to inspecting himself while he walked. He had scruffy black hair and appeared to be very young given his relatively tiny size. He didn't know how he knew he was very young, since looking around it wasn't like there was any reference to base that assumption. He tried to focus on the thought, but there were no memories he could pull. He was sure, however, that he was very young, but only physically. Something had made him stop aging. But the more he tried to think about it, the more he realized he didn't like thinking about it. He dropped the idea, just continuing in a hope to find her, although it would probably take quite a while since this place was so large. Quite a while indeed. He walked. He had no sky to reference, but he was sure days had passed. There were also no real landmarks, but he was sure that a good number of miles had gone by. He, again, didn't understand how he knew how time worked or how he knew distances, but the concepts were there. He wasn't getting tired, and he wasn't getting hungry or thirsty. All things he was sure had happened before. These thoughts at least assured him that there had been a before,